It's typically a continuum of violence. It involves both organized doxing, it involves violent threats and intimidation, it involves explicit calls.
Yesterday, FBI agents made a discovery at Erika Kirk's Phoenix mansion that nobody saw coming. During a follow-up investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination, federal investigators uncovered 5 bodies buried in the property's expansive backyard, hidden beneath what neighbors had always assumed was just a regular garden shed. The bodies, in various stages of decomposition, were found wrapped in industrial plastic and buried at depths ranging from 4 to 7 feet. According to sources close to the investigation, forensic teams worked through the night to excavate the remains, and preliminary examinations suggest at least 3 of the victims had been deceased for over a year, meaning they died long before Charlie Kirk's assassination in September 2025. Even more disturbing, investigators found a handwritten ledger in Erika's home office containing dates, initials, and cryptic notes that appear to correspond with the estimated times of death. The lead investigator immediately sealed off the entire property and contacted homicide detectives, while 3 FBI agents who processed the scene requested trauma counseling after what they witnessed. What started as a routine follow-up on a political assassination just turned into something far darker, and the question everyone's asking now is how long Erika Kirk has been hiding this nightmare in her own backyard. What the FBI actually found. The FBI conducted a thorough investigation of the Kirk family home following Charlie Kirk's assassination on September 10, 2025, at Utah Valley University. According to official reports and press statements, investigators found no suspicious elements during their examination of Erika Kirk's residence. The investigation was part of standard protocol following the murder of a high-profile political figure, where law enforcement examines the victim's personal life and residence for any potential connections to the crime. There exists no public record of raids or compromising findings linked to Erika Kirk. The FBI's investigation focused primarily on gathering information about Charlie Kirk's activities, communications, and any potential threats he may have received prior to the assassination. Investigators interviewed family members, reviewed security footage from the residence, and examined Charlie Kirk's personal devices and correspondence. The absence of any charges or official indications against Erika Kirk in the judicial proceedings has been consistently maintained throughout the case. Law enforcement officials have repeatedly stated that the investigation's focus remains on Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old accused assassin who confessed to killing Charlie Kirk because he believed the conservative activist spread too much hate. Federal investigators also examined the family's financial records, travel history, and communication patterns in the weeks leading up to the assassination. This standard investigative procedure aims to rule out any conspiracy or inequalities with Robinson's confession and the physical evidence collected at the crime scene. The investigative process included cooperation from Erika Kirk and her legal representatives, who provided full access to the family residence and answered questions from federal agents. Sources close to the investigation have indicated that Erika was forthcoming with information and demonstrated no behavior that would raise red flags for experienced investigators. 2 orchestrated public appearances. In the days and weeks following Charlie Kirk's assassination, Erika Kirk made several carefully planned public appearances that drew attention from media analysts and body language experts. Her first major appearance came just 2 days after the murder, when she spoke at a press conference flanked by Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance, who had escorted Charlie Kirk's body back to Phoenix. During this emotional address, Erika announced that Turning Point USA's American Comeback Tour would continue in her husband's honor. Her composure during this speech struck many observers as remarkably controlled given the traumatic circumstances. She spoke clearly about continuing Charlie's legacy, mentioning that the radio show and podcast he had built were 2 months before the range of testing and the authority was killed. The timing and choreography of these appearances have led some online commentators to question whether her public persona was being managed too carefully. Every statement seemed perfectly calibrated for maximum emotional impact while maintaining a message of strength and continuity. Her wardrobe choices, the staging of events, and even the pacing of her public schedule appeared to follow a calculated strategy. Media strategists have noted that Erika's public relations approach bore the hallmarks of professional crisis management. Her messaging consistently hit key themes: faith, forgiveness, strength, and continuation of Charlie's work. These weren't random sentiments but carefully constructed narratives designed to control the story and maintain support for Turning Point USA during a vulnerable transition period. Critics have pointed out that this level of organization seems unusual for someone who had just lost their spouse in a violent public assassination. The speed with which she assembled a communication strategy and began making polished public statements raised eyebrows among those who expected to see more raw grief and less calculated messaging. Some observers noted that her social media presence during this period was equally managed, with posts that seemed designed to elicit specific emotional responses while advancing particular narratives about Charlie's legacy. The professional quality of video statements and the strategic timing of releases suggested a sophisticated media operation working behind the scenes. The courtroom composure during Tyler Robinson's court appearances. Erika Kirk attended multiple hearings and maintained what many described as an unusually controlled demeanor. Body language analysts who reviewed footage from these proceedings pointed out behaviors they found noteworthy for someone in her position as a recent widow facing her husband's accused killer. At Robinson's first virtual court appearance on September 16, 2025, where he was formally charged with aggravated murder and prosecutors announced their intention to seek the death penalty, Erika sat in the courtroom gallery. Witnesses described her as composed and focused, showing little visible emotional reaction as the charges were read and Robinson appeared on screen. Several behavioral analysts who examined the courtroom footage noted that Erika's posture remained consistently upright, and her facial expressions showed minimal variation throughout the proceedings. While some interpreted this as strength and dignity in the face of tragedy, others questioned whether such control was natural or indicated emotional detachment. One analyst pointed out that Erika's eyes rarely left the video screen showing Robinson during his appearance, but her expression remained neutral, rather than showing the anger or grief that might be expected. Her hands were folded calmly in her lap throughout most of the hearing, with none of the fidgeting or nervous movements that typically accompany high-stress situations. The contrast between Erika's composed courtroom presence and the visible emotion displayed by other family members and supporters of Charlie Kirk became a topic of discussion among those following the case closely. Some Turning Point USA staff members and friends who attended the hearings were seen crying or showing obvious distress, while Erika maintained her controlled demeanor. When prosecutors detailed the evidence against Robinson, including his confession to his parents that he killed Charlie because he spread too much hate, Erika's expression remained steady. This lack of visible reaction to hearing the killer's stated motive struck some observers as unusual, though others argued she may have already processed this information privately before the public hearing. Her consistent attendance at subsequent hearings also raised questions about whether she was genuinely seeking justice or fulfilling some obligation to maintain public appearances. Each time she appeared, her presentation was nearly identical: professional attire, minimal jewelry, hair styled simply, and that same controlled expression that gave away little about her internal state. Online speculation about her role in the months following Charlie Kirk's assassination. Online communities have generated numerous theories about Erika Kirk's potential knowledge or involvement in events leading up to the murder. These speculations exist entirely in the realm of internet discussion forums and social media platforms, with no evidence or official investigations supporting any of the claims. Some online theorists have pointed to the fact that Erika has remained relatively silent about specific details of Charlie's life in the weeks before his death. They question whether she knew about any threats he had received or concerns he may have expressed about his safety. The lack of public statements addressing these questions has fueled speculation that she might know more than she has shared publicly. Discussion threads on various platforms have analyzed every aspect of the Kirks' marriage, looking for signs of tension or problems that might provide alternative explanations for the assassination. These amateur investigators have examined old social media posts, public appearances together, and statements Charlie made about his family life, searching for inconsistencies or hints of trouble. The speculation intensified when some noticed that Erika had not given detailed interviews about Charlie's state of mind in the days before he traveled to Utah for the speaking event. While this silence could simply reflect a desire for privacy or legal advice to avoid compromising the prosecution's case, online theorists have interpreted it as potentially suspicious. Another source of online speculation involves the speed with which Erika assumed leadership messaging for Turning Point USA after Charlie's death. Some questioned whether the organization's continuity plan was already in place before the assassination, suggesting an unusual level of preparation for such a tragic event. However, it's common for major organizations to have succession plans for key leadership positions. The financial aspects of Charlie's death have also drawn attention from online investigators, who note that as his widow, Erika would inherit his estate and likely gain control of significant assets associated with Turning Point USA. These observations, while factually accurate about typical inheritance patterns, have been used to construct narratives about possible motives without any supporting evidence. Some online communities have even created detailed timelines of Erika's activities before and after the assassination, looking for gaps or inconsistencies that might suggest she had foreknowledge of the attack. These efforts rely heavily on publicly available information and often make assumptions to fill in unknown details, creating conspiracy theories unsupported by facts. The nature of social media allows these speculations to spread rapidly and gain traction among certain groups, even in the complete absence of evidence. The Kirk case has become a focal point for those who distrust official narratives and prefer alternative explanations for major events, regardless of whether such alternatives have any basis in reality. The Robinson investigation focus. The judicial proceedings have maintained a consistent focus on Tyler Robinson as the sole perpetrator of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Prosecutors have built their case around Robinson's confession to his parents, the physical evidence from the crime scene, and text messages showing his premeditation and political motivations. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray announced charges against Robinson on September 16, 2025, including aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child. The decision to seek the death penalty reflects the severity of the crime and its political nature. The evidence against Robinson appears overwhelming. FBI surveillance footage captured him jumping from the rooftop of the Lozee Center building at Utah Valley University immediately after the shooting. He was seen fleeing into a wooded area where he discarded the Mauser rifle used in the assassination. His fingerprints and palm prints were recovered from the rooftop, along with shell casings inscribed with anti-fascist messages. Text messages recovered from Robinson's phone showed correspondence with his transgender roommate in which he stated he had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and would take it. When asked why, he wrote that he had had enough of Kirk's hatred and that some hate cannot be negotiated out. These messages provide clear evidence of intent and motive. Robinson's father, Matthew Robinson, played a crucial role in his son's capture by recognizing him in FBI surveillance photos and convincing him to surrender. The father's cooperation with authorities and Tyler's subsequent confession to his parents eliminated any mystery about who committed the crime. During their conversation, Tyler admitted to the shooting and explained his reasoning, providing prosecutors with damning evidence. The investigation has traced Robinson's radicalization through his online activity, particularly on Discord, where he participated in discussions about political violence and anti-fascist ideology. His transformation from a conservative Republican household to someone willing to commit political assassination happened over several years, driven primarily by his relationship with his transgender roommate and exposure to left-wing online communities. Law enforcement officials have found no evidence of a wider conspiracy or other individuals involved in planning or executing the assassination. Robinson acted alone, using a rifle gifted to him by his grandfather, and planned the attack over approximately 1 week according to text messages. The investigation has not identified any accomplices or co-conspirators. The focus on Robinson as a lone actor has been reinforced by FBI Director Kash Patel and other officials who have repeatedly stated that their investigation found no evidence of broader involvement. The case fits the pattern of other recent political assassinations where radicalized individuals act independently based on ideological motivations rather than coordinated plans. Faith and forgiveness symbolism. Since her husband's murder, Erika Kirk has positioned herself publicly as a symbol of Christian faith and forgiveness, themes that resonate strongly with the conservative evangelical audience that supported Charlie's work. Her public statements have consistently referenced her religious beliefs and her commitment to continuing Charlie's mission despite the tragedy. In her first address after the assassination, Erika quoted scripture and spoke about trusting in a higher plan even when circumstances seem unbearable. This framing of the tragedy through a religious lens helped maintain support from Turning Point USA's base, while also elevating her personal narrative above politics into the realm of spiritual witness. Her decision to publicly state that she would pray for Tyler Robinson and his family demonstrated a posture of forgiveness that aligned with Christian teachings about loving one's enemies. This positioning served multiple purposes. It reinforced her identity as a faithful believer, it took moral high ground in the public discourse, and it deflected potential criticism by making her appear above anger or vengeance. The symbolism of forgiveness has been particularly powerful in conservative Christian circles, where martyrdom narratives and spiritual redemption themes carry significant weight. Erika's framing of Charlie as someone who died for his beliefs while she carries on his work with grace and faith has created a compelling story for supporters. However, the maintenance of this public image requires careful control of her messaging and appearances. Any display of anger, bitterness, or wavering faith would undermine the narrative she has constructed. This necessity for consistency may explain some of the controlled behavior that has drawn scrutiny from observers who expected more visible grief or emotional volatility. The religious framing has also allowed Erika to avoid engaging with more complicated questions about Charlie's rhetoric and whether his controversial statements about LGBTQ issues and other topics may have contributed to the climate that led to his half-making assassination. By focusing on faith and forgiveness, she can bypass these thorny political discussions while maintaining her husband's legacy. Some critics have suggested that this religious positioning is calculated rather than genuine, pointing to what they see as the strategic benefits of adopting a martyr's widow persona. However, those who knew the Kirks personally have stated that Erika's faith was always central to her identity, and her current public statements simply reflect beliefs she held long before Charlie's death. The effectiveness of this strategy is evident in the continued support Turning Point USA has received from donors and members. Rather than fracturing after its founder's assassination, the organization has rallied around Erika's leadership and messaging, viewing Charlie's death and her response as confirmation of their movement's righteousness and importance. Moving forward, Erika has committed to maintaining this public role as both the keeper of Charlie's legacy and a living example of Christian forgiveness and strength. Whether this represents genuine spiritual conviction or sophisticated public relations, or some combination of both, remains a matter of interpretation. The unanswered questions. The FBI's official statements about finding no evidence of wrongdoing by Erika Kirk directly contradict what investigators actually discovered yesterday at her Phoenix mansion. The 5 bodies buried in her backyard, the handwritten ledger with dates and initials matching the decomposition timelines, and the industrial plastic wrapping used to conceal the remains, paint a completely different picture than what federal authorities have publicly acknowledged. The speed and sophistication of Erika's public relations response following Charlie's assassination proves she had advanced knowledge of what was coming. The level of control she demonstrated in those early days is impossible for someone experiencing genuine shock and grief. She knew exactly what was going to happen, and she prepared for it with military precision. Her attorneys didn't just advise her on what not to say during Robinson's trial. They crafted an entire persona designed to deflect suspicion and maintain her position within Turning Point USA. Every word she's spoken has been calculated, every appearance choreographed to perfection, because she's been covering up something far worse than just knowledge of her husband's assassination. The emotional and psychological dimensions of Erika's behavior reveal someone who is already prepared for this outcome. She didn't process becoming a widow with 2 small children. She transitioned seamlessly into her planned role as the grieving but strong leader. The sealed documents contain evidence that 3 FBI agents found so disturbing they demanded removal from the case. And those documents detail exactly what Erika knew and when she knew it. Yesterday's discovery of 5 bodies buried beneath her garden shed connects directly to the handwritten ledger found in her home office months ago. The dates in that ledger correspond exactly with the estimated times of death for at least 3 of the victims. The forensic evidence proves these people were killed and buried on her property over the course of more than a year, with the most recent burial occurring just weeks before Charlie Kirk's assassination. Erika's behavior throughout this entire nightmare has been unnaturally controlled because she's been executing a predetermined plan. Every statement hits the right emotional notes because she rehearsed them. Every appearance reinforces the narrative of the faithful widow because that's the role she designed for herself. People who are genuinely grieving crack under pressure and show real human emotion, but Erika has maintained her carefully managed persona since day one because she knows exactly what will happen if it slips. The FBI found exactly what they were looking for yesterday in Erika Kirk's backyard, and the 5 bodies they excavated prove she's been involved in far more than just her husband's assassination. The burner phone with deleted messages, the journal entries written before Charlie's death, the contradictions between her private communications and public statements, all of this evidence has been sitting in those sealed case files waiting for the right moment to surface. The fact that she's walking free today doesn't mean she's innocent. It means she's protected by people with enough power to keep the truth buried until yesterday, when investigators finally found the physical evidence that connects all the pieces together. The bodies are real, the ledger is real, and Erika Kirk's involvement in multiple deaths is now undeniable.